We are in Lockwood, California, a small school district, rural school district of just under 200 students. And I am here today to talk to you about this young man. He doesn't walk yet, doesn't talk yet, has an insatiable curiosity and appetite for learning, and he's surrounded by technology. He'll also be in our schools in the next 4 years. We need to be ready to give him the tools and the mindset to be successful for a workforce with technology that doesn't exist yet, for jobs that we've never heard of. It is critical that we provide him and the rest of our students with a 21st century education that uses the tools that they are and will be using in their everyday lives. Being future ready allows us to peek at what once seemed impossible. It's 3D printing. It's a group of 6th grade students in the United States studying Hinduism in their social studies class, having a real-time conversation with 6th grade students in India, talking about how the tenets of the Hindu faith has impacted their culture. Future ready is the feeling that it's possible to touch the moon, and essential to creating district and school environments that allow us to peek into the future. To peek at what seems impossible is strong visionary leadership. It's leadership that, in addition to vision, has invested in planning. Planning that understands how critical it is to prepare today's student for their tomorrow. It's well thought out assessment of the implementation of a future-ready vision, and it's engaging in the elements of an effective leadership cycle. Because gone are the days when we as educators could stand at the front of a classroom and pontificate, when students would sit quietly, listen, and recite memorized information. Today's learner is a creator, a collaborator, a critical thinker, and is not just being prepared to be a citizen of the United States. Today's student is being prepared to be a digital citizen of a globally connected community. As educators, we are in different stages of transition from what was once dubbed as a one-size-fits-all approach to education, to designing a model that opens minds, that supports discovery and creativity. We are in different stages of understanding of how the digital tools of today support classroom instruction, and how we use these tools to ensure the development of a collaborative, forward-thinking workforce of globally oriented communicators, critical thinkers, and creative problem solvers. So how do we get there? So before we roll out that one-to-one program or invest in that blended learning model, we need to be sure that our districts have the infrastructure to support them. Consider that many, if not most, of our students and adults on our campuses are using 2 and 3 devices at the same time, and that all of these devices are competing for access to the same network. We need to be sure that our networks are capable of meeting our district's needs today, in 3 years, and in 5 years down the road. We need to have forward-looking plans in place to ensure that our district network still will keep pace with the growing demand for access. We need to learn to speak IT. Those of us in small school districts wear many hats. We might be the superintendent, the principal, the HR director, the chief business official, and the chief technology officer. We need to be able to speak IT so we can have a two-way conversation with our service providers, whether they be private contractors, partnerships with our county office of education, or in-house support. And it feels like learning a foreign language, but it is a language that we need to learn to speak so that we can understand and articulate that we need networks with a minimum of 100,000 megabytes per second versus 10 megabytes per second. We need to be able to advocate for a vision that brings 1 gigabit networks to all of our school districts so that we are prepared to support student learning both today and tomorrow. It is essential that the small school district superintendent speak IT. Now, today's teacher holds a tremendous amount of responsibility to create the classroom environment that allows for students to be creative, to be collaborators and critical thinkers with tools that they themselves did not grow up with. Today's teacher needs to bring a far different skill set to the classroom than just 5 and 10 years ago. They are called upon to provide engaging instruction using tools that they are just getting to know themselves. As superintendents, we hold the responsibility to have these tools, the supporting infrastructure, and the professional development needed to incorporate technology that is not limited to substituting for traditional worksheet assignments, but that redefines how learning happens. The 21st century leader in education understands what it means to be future ready and the responsibility that comes with serving schools during a transformational period that is turning the impact of the Industrial Revolution on its head. At no other time in our history has there been such a rapid shift in how we do business, or how the education system has needed to transform to meet the needs of the globally connected, digitally literate student. We must, as leaders, bring an open mindset to our roles and embrace innovation, while also investing in our #1 resource, our people. It is our responsibility to make sure that today's teachers and all those that are supporting our students understand what it means and what it looks like to prepare our students for their tomorrow. We need to ensure access to the resources and professional development that it takes to engage in a strong 21st century learning model. And that responsibility remains the same whether we lead in small school districts or in large ones, whether we are at the beginning of our transformational journey or our organization has already begun the shift. Either way, when this young man retires in 2070, when he reflects on his career and the education that prepared him for it, whether it was from a small rural school district in Lockwood, California, or a much larger district in our Golden State, he will look back fondly and gratefully with an understanding that he was given the skills needed to have multiple paths to choose from. He will understand the power technology has given us to provide an equal education to all students, to prepare all students to have the choice to grow into successful adults that live and work in smaller rural communities or that choose to compete on a larger stage. Either way, he will have had the opportunity to peek at what seemed impossible as a child and grown into a man that achieved what we can only imagine.